I'm not really sure if the argument between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super is still relevant to this time. But this is one I had on the back burner for ages, and so I just thought I'm just gonna finish it and get it out of the back burner pile. Dragon Ball Z is an ancient relic. It's an old one, and there's the time-old debate since ancient times whether Goku can beat Superman, or like if Goku's like an too overpowered superhero. You know what I'm saying? Like, but today it's not really about like Goku specifically. It's more just the story in general. Dragon Ball Z versus Dragon Ball Super. Old Dragon Ball Z is a vibe. Progressing from original Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z was originally created to conclude the saga of Goku. Dragon Ball Super, progressing from the progression of Dragon Ball, a wacky evolution of Dragon Ball Z, selling heaps of toys and using heaps of colour. What one was better and why? So Dragon Ball managed to hold onto a well thought out power scaling system, especially during Goku's increase of power after training with King Kai, through Frieza Saga to Cell Saga. And I've been trying to work on this sentence and I just don't know how to form it, but I'm going to do my best. Through clever environmental as well as emotional contrasting techniques, we can easily reference how much stronger a character has become and will grow. Sort of like Gohan's massive psycho bursts against Frieza. You've kind of, through each character, you can sort of like reference like the distance and power, if you know what I mean. I feel like Dragon Ball Super kind of lost this, and they sort of more focused on like color changing and explaining it and talking about it, you know, like which is cool too, like Ultra Instinct Goku, that was really explained from Whis. You could definitely tell how much stronger he was, but it was kind of like in this different realm. Everything up to Ultra Instinct seemed kind of forced, and like it didn't really have that emotional backup. So the story of the Saiyans was coming to a close, a climax to a saga of an epic tale. High stakes, high emotions, and a real emotional involvement in the story. To rid the villain who destroyed Goku and Vegeta's entire race, and I mean everything is lead up to this. You know, it's like Goku is the last one standing to become a Super Saiyan and defeat Frieza, and it was a conclusion, you know what I mean? But it was so popular, they carried it on, and they didn't butcher it. It just gets better, and he moves into a thriller arc. I mean, this was like a thriller. Android Saga was like a thriller, and Cell. And, you know, Cell Saga was complicated because it focused a lot on technique, speed and strength, as opposed to just like power-ups and being stronger, you know what I mean? Trunks was like, he was so much like Vegeta, but it wasn't explained. You had to figure that out on his own. He was arrogant like Vegeta. And then Gohan, like, we've all waited for this moment watching Dragon Ball Z, and he hits it. But the increase of power was like, it was more than Goku's power up. It was huge. And Gohan was like, he couldn't control that Super Saiyan power, like, of original Legend. Leading to Buu Saga, and Vegeta just, you know, he takes L's, man. Enter Dragon Ball Super, the enlightened, like, ADHD, like, great-grandson of Dragon Ball Z. Where Dragon Ball Super lacks the depth of character and environment, it does not fail to deliver a super story of bursting power, color, explosions, and extremeness. There's huge power increases and a lot of power and destruction. Goku and Vegeta are now on a path to enlightenment, Kundalini, and apotheosis. It's a full, like, what do you call that? A full left turn, last minute left turn, boom, straight off the motorway, boom, straight into like the 10th dimension. Most of the Tournament of Power was pretty sick, It had its moments. It also had its corn, and Jiren was the biggest grey piece of that. And some bits, man, so much corn, you know, so cheesy. But other bits, and like there were moments it was fire, you know what I mean? It was pretty good for the most part. And you know, Ultra Instinct, it kind of brought you back and went, okay, yeah, maybe they're back on track, you know what I mean? Like just like the end of GT. It was like, oh, this is actually sick. But I had to last all this to get to that, you know what I mean? It's not to say that Dragon Ball Z was perfect either, you know. Dragon Ball Z had some, you know, a lot of plot holes. A big fat pink blob was like a real bizarre choice for a villain after, you know, following how sick Cell was. But he did alright, but it, you know, another Gohan let down, you know what I mean? Goku has to come save the day. It was quite typical. Vegeta gets a fat hiding extra. It's definitely a new approach, you know, it's an evolution of Dragon Ball Z. It's hard to say what the general opinion on this is. I don't know. I don't really like it, to be honest. Just moments like this, you know, the Roshi couldn't even keep up with Raditz. I just feel like they've I feel like it's disconnected. You know what I mean? It's disconnected from what Dragon Ball Z is, and I guess that's why it's Dragon Ball Super. But I guess for Dragon Ball Z fans, they're obviously just gonna like Dragon Ball Z. Or for Dragon Ball Super fans, they're just gonna like Dragon Ball Super. I don't know. But Beerus and Whis here, they kinda was like a kid's show for a second there. and so Whis rewinding here, or Zeno rewriting and deleting, it just took away the like need and the, you know, the risk factor of like when they're on Namek and they're all real scared because this guy's just gonna kill them easy as. And it had a good story where they kind of built it up, you know, where Zeno could have just come and done this whenever. It doesn't even matter. Let alone Goku just being an absolute retard the whole saga. Trunks being an absolute biatch. The arcs, they had mad potential, eh? They had such good foundations. I mean, I feel like also the characters were disconnected. You know, they just felt like shells of their original selves. Where, watch Dragon Ball Z here, as opposed to here. The voice acting I'm talking about. It's not bad, but it just feels real all over the show. Like he's acting as Vegeta.
But just like you, he does not have true pride. I don't expect you to understand, not you.
I know that the voice actor was way more in his prime at this point, but it still just sounded a lot more sincere in Dragon Ball Z. Christopher R. Sabat, that's it. Oh my gosh. Oh, they're so annoying. Oh my gosh. Trunks and Goten is so annoying. So annoying. Their filler is so boring. So Vegeta's just about to knock out his own son and gut punch Goten for some reason, and there ain't no Zeno to rewind that. But the Goten and Trunks in Dragon Ball Z were an okay filler, you know? And Dragon Ball Z filler, especially original Dragon Ball Z filler, it was good, you know? It was like original Dragon Ball, which was all like that mostly. It was just a more fun sort of like laughy, jokey sort of ride. Dragon Ball Z a little bit more core, a little bit more Vegeta getting punched in the back over and over again by Frieza. And then Dragon Ball Super kind of went back a little bit into that more childlike approach, I think. But it didn't really import the original essence of Dragon Ball, like just sort of like, it's like hangover watches, you know what I mean? You just chuck it on and watch it and it's feel goods, you know? Frieza Force sounds corny. It does, it sounds super corny. Like, original Frieza was the original Frieza society, or the Empire, whatever. It was like, you know, it was real hard out. Like, it had a lot more like realness and thriller to it, you know, like, you know, the real feeling of like what that is. And the Frieza Force is kind of just like this, like, it's very soft, you know, it comes across as very soft. But Broly pulled it off really good. It was complete different aesthetic to Dragon Ball Z, but it was good. It was a good movie. So we're drawing to a close here, and I probably should have made this video way longer than it is. But anyway, I've chosen Trunks for the end, not because it's necessarily the best part of Dragon Ball Z, but it's just so sick. It is so sick. Like, Frieza's back, and it's not corny for some reason. Like Darth Vader coming back or something, you know. But he's just so badass, you know what I mean? Like, he has got a sword, he's got a dope ass attitude, he's a Super Saiyan, and he has a leather vest. I mean, a denim vest. Actually, looking at it there, it could have been, could be leather actually. And I do think it's a valid point to make that, like, if you check on the old DBZ marathon feature, Bruce Faulconer dub, it's pretty easy to run through it, eh? Like, the power-ups don't take that long. But compared to new anime, yeah, it's pretty slow. It's pretty slow. I guess you kind of have to know it to... I don't know. Does the new generation like old Dragon Ball Z? Or do they like Dragon Ball Super?